Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Superman and Lois Season 2 review series. And today I am going to be talking about episode 4, The Inverse Method, which I have just finished watching. And this episode was really good, really enjoyed this one a lot. And we got to see some great Superman action. We got to learn more about why exactly Clark has been experiencing these strange visions and head traumas that he's been getting over the last 3 episodes now. And very good episode. Very enjoyable. Little bit different to the last episode. The focus was much more on Lois and her sister, Lucy Lane, who makes her first appearance in the show. Although it's not the same actress as the original Lucy Lane from Supergirl. But at the same time, it's kind of good to change things up a little bit. So we've still got the threat that's out there, but it's nice to actually take a different path. We get to see Lois take more of the lead in this episode. And it was mostly very enjoyable. So I'm going to give a little quick recap of what's happened, and then we're just going to get straight into talking about episode 4. So, over the course of the last few episodes, Smallville had been experiencing some minor tremors and earthquakes, and there was a thing underground wearing this suit, punching its way out of the ground, and we were all led to believe that we were actually going to see Doomsday appear in the show. And I said in a couple of reviews back that I would like to see Doomsday, but I think it's way too early to bring Doomsday into the show because we're only in the second season of Superman and Lois. So I think going down the Doomsday path was a bit too soon. And once again, this show continues to, I wouldn't necessarily say they trolled us. I would say they tricked us. They led us up the garden path once again, just like they did in season 1, where we thought the man in the metal suit was Captain Luthor from another Earth, and it turned out to be John Henry Irons. And as we saw in the last episode, the thing in the suit was Bizarro. So, very good twist. We didn't get Doomsday, we've got Bizarro, and it looks like Bizarro is definitely the main villain for season 2. And we saw at the end of episode 3, we saw Bizarro going to Clark's Fortress of Solitude, and he was just like looking around, very confused and lost. And he very subtly said, "Mum." What does that mean? We don't know. We haven't really learned a lot about Bizarro yet. Why is he here? What does he want? What's the connection to him and Superman? We haven't quite got there yet, but we did learn why Clark has been getting these strange visions and trauma, which we will talk about in a moment. But as I said, this episode was very good, very enjoyable, and I love the accuracy that's been put into for Bizarro. He looks exactly like he was pulled from the comic books. Dark suit, ripped cape, reverse S, cracked face, messy hair, everything. Just loved it. And, I've been saying for a long time, as much as I've been wanting to see Brainiac in live action, I've also been wanting to see a live action Bizarro. We've had things like that before, but not to this degree. So to finally get a comic book accurate version of Bizarro in this show has just been absolutely brilliant. And this is only his second appearance already. So, loving it. So, with that all said, let's not waste any more time. Let's get straight into it. Let's talk about episode 4, The Inverse Method. So, we see at the beginning of the episode, we see Lucy talking to Lois, and Lucy asks Lois to leave. Now, we've been hearing about Lucy Lane has been part of some weird cult led by a lady called Ali, and Lois has been on a mission to try and expose this thing that Lucy has got herself into that is nothing more than just some sick brainwashing cult. And we see Lucy has been staying with Lois and Clark. So this is a flashback which goes back 5 years. And we more or less see Lucy just wants to leave and do her own thing. So we see Lucy is empty and has explained that she has lost everything. And Lois remembers that she's talking to a leader of the cult that has brainwashed Lucy and others, and Lois has promised to take her down. We also learn in this episode that Bizarro and Clark have this strange psychic link with each other, and they're able to share each other's memories. So, for example, in this episode, Bizarro can actually see what Clark's doing, and Clark can see what Bizarro's doing. Very strange. Definitely will learn more about this, but it's very interesting because I've always remembered in the comic books and even in animation, Bizarro was cloned by Lex Luthor. So he was basically a clone of Superman, and Lex Luthor got some of his DNA and made a clone out of him. And because it's so difficult to clone Kryptonian DNA, the clone just broke down intelligence, appearance wise, and just became this pathetic wretch who thinks he's Superman, but he does everything that Superman does in reverse or backwards, depending on which way you want to describe him. So to have Bizarro and Clark actually share this strange psychic link is an interesting take. I've never seen them do that in the comics or the cartoon, so it's an interesting one. So we see Jordan over here, Lois listening to a Lucy Lane podcast, and Lois comes in to tell Clark that her sister is far too gone beyond help. We also see Clark meets with John Henry Irons for coffee, while Lana learns from Emily that some people are looking into her past against her as Lana is running for mayor. Back at the Smallville farm, Clark finally comes face to face with Bizarro, and the two of them go at it. This was fantastic. Definitely got Man of Steel vibes going on here. You know, you see Clark and Bizarro duking it out and just basically struggling to get an advantage over one another, and it was really cool. Another thing that I did like with Bizarro, now everybody knows Superman's got ice breath. Bizarro has got fire breath, and we've never really seen that in any media other than the comic books. So that was quite nice to see. So we see John Henry gets involved and takes down Bizarro, and he flies off. We then see Penny gets the lead on the cult leader, and she and Lois head to a conference in the hopes of finding Lucy. Jonathan learns at school that his classmate and now buying inhalers from his girlfriend Candice, which gives them the ability to have super strength, or so it would appear. Sarah and Jordan stop at the local convenience store where two students are trying to steal beer, and Jordan freezes a spot on the ground so they slip before they can get away. However, much to Jordan's shock, there is a surveillance video. Jordan calls his granddad, General Sam Lane, and he scrambles the video remotely and tells Jordan that you need to be a lot more careful when you're using your powers. Meanwhile, Penny arrives at the conference looking to find Lucy, and Lois stays in the car. And there we see the cult leader Ali speaking inside. We see Superman speaking with the new general, who is now Anderson, who we all remember back in a couple of episodes. He was Lieutenant Anderson. Now he's been upgraded to General. He gives him a way to track Bizarro, and Superman warns him he needs to do this alone. And of course, Anderson doesn't like this. So what we've seen in a few episodes now, Anderson has been putting together his own Superman team of young people with abilities, and Superman has been strongly against it, and he's been saying to Anderson that they're just kids, they're not ready, they need more training, and Anderson is more or less saying, look, if you're not going to work with me, then stay out of my way and stay out of my business. So interesting dynamic, to say the least. Jonathan keeps his eyes peeled at practice. He asks to get in on throwing. He gets the coach's attention, and we see Lois finally sees Lucy and tries to explain why she wrote the article on the cult. She misses her and wants her back. We see Chrissy is outed in the meeting by Ali, and she admits to all she lied. She thinks they are all being brainwashed, and across town, Lucy vents into Lois about how she was the one who overdosed to see her other self, and how Lois didn't share that. Unbeknownst to Lois, Lucy records their entire conversation, and Ali plays it to the group that she's talking to. And we see Chrissy is upset that Lois didn't tell her anything. Lana and Kyle sit Sarah down. They tell her that people are looking into their family and Sarah's past, and Sarah doesn't care. Let them. She is stronger and wiser now. Nice. Lois vents to Clark about Lucy, the lies, and how she tried to protect her. And the military finally get a location on Bizarro, but don't tell Superman. And they send 3 of their own, and Bizarro ends up killing both of them. Clark overhears this due to the connection with Bizarro, and dons his Superman suit to fight it out with Bizarro. Now, I love this. Seeing 2 Supermen, Superman and his clone, just battling it out, never gets old. I really liked it. And it was definitely like watching a movie. I love things like that. And we see John Henry Irons gets involved and ends up getting seriously injured. And we see Superman bring him back to the hospital, and it would appear that John Henry has a serious brain injury. Oh man, poor John. Lois tells Natty her dad is in the hospital, and they head there. Superman is there, and she gets mad at him. He was supposed to protect her dad. You're supposed to be Superman. And she asks them to leave. Meanwhile, Kyle warns Lana's opponents in them run from there, and he needs to keep away from Sarah. Lana tells Kyle to let it go, and we see Kyle heads to the local bar and speaks to the bartender, who appears to have a romantic relationship with. Lois tries to talk some sense into Chrissy, but isn't able to get through, and we see Chrissy at the end meets up with the cult leader Ali. And that's how we end episode 4, and that wraps up my review. Overall, very good episode. Highly enjoyed this one a lot. Seeing Clark and Bizarro having this weird connection with each other was really cool, and you can clearly see Bizarro is more or less fighting for his own existence, no pun intended. So it's almost like when Bizarro and Clark are away from each other, they're fine, but as soon as they come within contact, the trauma starts, but mostly for Clark. So it should be very interesting to learn in the next couple of episodes why this is the case and how did Bizarro end up here. But overall, very good episode. Really enjoyed this one a lot. And, I also enjoyed the fact that even though we got to see Superman doing his thing, it was also nice to see Lois take more of the lead in this episode. And we get to see her being as her reporter best. So very much enjoyed this episode a lot. I thought this was a lot of fun. So that's going to be it from me. I am going to wrap this up now. What was your thoughts on episode 4? Did you enjoy it? What do you think the connection is between Bizarro and Clark? Do you think we'll get to learn about that? And do you think there is some sort of psychic link? And also, what do you think is going to happen to Chrissy when she meets Ali? Do you think it's possible that she could join Ali's cult? And also, what about Jordan wanting to train with his granddad, General Sam Lane? Is it possible we could see Jordan become Superboy Prime in the show? Or do you think he could just be plain Superboy, maybe similar to Connor Kent? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Superman and Lois Season 2 review series, where I am going to be talking about Episode 5, which I am very much looking forward to talking about, especially with the way everything has been going with this episode. Should be a good one, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this is all going to play out. So until next time, take care everybody and stay safe, and once again, as always, thanks for listening.